Welcome back, everybody. This is the Last American Pubcast, and I am Frank from the Let's Be Frank channel. And I'm glad to be here joined by two other panelists that will be joining us for the future as we introduce you to this new show that has been created in order to help bring you guys some news topics and, of course, some awesome guests that we are going to have on the future. And I'm very excited to be in this time slot at 7 p.m. This is a 2-hour broadcast. We'll be doing 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if you haven't subscribed to the official Last American Pubcast YouTube channel, you can check that out in the link. And of course, you can check out all the other links for the channel itself. And if you have guests, if you have anybody out there that you would like for us to take a look at, maybe have on the show, please just send it to us via the official Last American Pubcast Twitter account. The DMs are open, and you can follow us over there. So it's great to be here. Let me go ahead and turn it over to a couple of my guests here. And PJ, welcome.
Hey, welcome in. Welcome in, chat. It's great to be here. I'm very excited to be a part of the Last American Pubcast. We've been talking about this, I think, for a little over a month. So I've been pretty excited about it, waiting to tell people. And I finally got to this week. So thank you guys thank you, Frank, for having me. And thank you, chat, for being here.
What's up, everybody? It's Tom over from America Floats, the channel trying to keep America afloat. And happy to be here. I have known and talked with Frank about doing something like this for a while. So we're happy to put it together and excited to see what we can come up with. We've got a few interesting topics for this evening and excited to see what conversations come about. So thanks, everybody, for coming along.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I'm glad that you guys are all joining us today in the chat. Everybody out there joining us on the different platforms that we are currently streaming on, which is Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. It's all, and we soon will add, of course, a Rumble, and we will also add a Odysee here in the near future. But today is the very first show, so I'm very glad to get this kicked off. And we are kicking off with a story that was dominant at the very beginning of this week, talking about the Georgia Guidestones. If you guys don't know what the Georgia Guidestones were, they were what many people dubbed the American Stonehenge. But what we know really what it was the absolute New World Order Testament, their 10 commandments that they had planned for the world once they were able to get the population down to under 500 million. And what a wonderful time to see that monument be crumbled. But of course, the left was all outraged when it crumbled. They didn't seem to be too outraged when they were tearing down statues of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and all that during the most peaceful Summer of Love riots, were they, guys?
Right, yeah. Yeah, the Georgia Guidestones is an interesting one to me. I've been following this story for a while, and it was interesting that it popped up this week. I mean, obviously, it was going to pop up because of the explosion, but I feel like it was something that just people didn't know a lot about. You were familiar with this before, Frank, right?
Yeah, I actually was going to write out there to do a small documentary and talk about the stones and talk about their origins and talk about some of the symbolism and some of the commandments they had put on that stone, and really kind of explore that. But before I could do that, they decided to tear it down and blow it up. And now here what we have is just a rubble of the New World Order. Hopefully it's a testament for something that will be coming in the future as we make these globalists panic, knowing that there are many, many people around the globe who are tired of this type of ideology they've been trying to put onto the people of this world. But most importantly, the people of this country, PJ and Tom.
Yeah. You would think whoever put these in, whether it's Ted Turner or any other nameless, faceless group behind the installation, you'd think that they would either be known now or would be filing some kind of insurance claim. Surely someone paid for the backhoe to come out and wreck it after it was blown up. So who is that?
Well, they did turn. I don't know if that was the county, because the guy who made it, the pseudonym R.C. Christian, handed over the land and the monuments to the county of Evilton. So I don't know if they paid for it, but yeah.
It just, this article here was on July 7th. It just said a mysterious monument stood in the U.S. state of Georgia for more than 40 years, but now the stones are history. Previously unknown perpetrators blew it up, the so-called Guidestones. While conspiracy theories are entwined around the explosion, just like the American Stonehenge itself. And if you guys don't know where this was, it's about 180 kilometers from the city of Atlanta on a hill in Elbert County, Georgia. and it's the monument stood since 1980. And as PJ pointed out, the person itself, who was it? It was RC. What was it?
Robert C. Christian, but even the guy Joe, I can never pronounce his last name right. The guy who owned Ebleton Granite, Joe something. He said that he didn't think it was the guy's real name. It was just a pseudonym, and he kind of came in, gave him this idea. He had like a map up of or a miniature version, like a scale model, had very specific instructions for the way it faced and what its dimensions were and its size. And there's even a capstone or a explanatory tablet that tells you the astronomical features and all that stuff. So like it was very thought out and specific, but the guy just kind of shows up, like pays this guy for this massive amount of granite
20 tons.
right there.
20 tons of it.
I don't even remember what it cost.
Has no questions about this. Like he's approached with a guy with just a seemingly odd name, Robert C. Christian. He's got a bag of money. He's got a slate. He says, this is what we want done. And there's no questions asked there.
Well, it costs about $373,000 of what today's currency would be to build this. So I don't know if he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna take the money and build this stupid thing in the middle of the field and look the other way. I have no idea. A lot of people think he was behind it himself, that the whole RC Christian thing was fake. So,
yeah, which is really interesting. And a couple quick facts about this. There were 10 messages on it, and it was all engraved in English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, ancient Chinese, and Russian. And here were, for you all out there that may not know what were written on there, here were the 10 messages on the Georgia Guidestones. One was to keep humanity under 500 million. In a constant balance with nature. Unite humanity with a new language. Number 3 was control reproduction wisely to improve fitness and diversity. Number 4
means eugenics. Right?
Yeah.
Number 3 is eugenics.
The first one is genocide, and the third one is eugenics. So like right there, like the second one is kind of like a globalist thing, but like right in your first 3 of what I think is basically the anti-10 commandments, like you said, the commandments of the liberal world order or whatever I was calling them the other day, that it's a very much of a mocking Christianity. And then it starts right off with genocide and eugenics. Yeah. Like right in the beginning. So
right.
Good stuff so far.
Yeah. And number 4 was rule with passion, faith, tradition, and all things with moderate reason. Then number 5 says protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Number 6 said, let all nations settle their own affairs internally and settle international disputes before a world court.
It's more globalism right there.
Yep. Number 7 was avoid petty laws and useless officials. Number 8 was strike a balance between personal rights and socialty duties. Number 9 was worthy truth, beauty, love, in search of harmony with the infinite. And number 10 was don't be a cancer on this earth. Leave space for nature. Leave space for nature.
Yeah, which sounds a lot like Paul Ehrlich's Population Bomb book, which I think came out in the 70s, so sometime before this, when the left decided that some type of global warming or cooling or change or something like that was excuses to continue to push for abortion, to continue to push this idea that humanity is a cancer on the earth and we need less people. I mean, it's been a plan that's been in place for 50 years. The left has been pushing for, one child policy type stuff all over the world. So
they also expected that there would be like a giant flood that would wipe out most of humanity. They put these stones on the highest point in all of Georgia for a reason. And I think that's interesting that they also served as a compass and as a whole bunch of other, geomechanically, useful devices. So you have a compass, you have rulers and other kind of devices on the sides of them. But I also had read, and maybe this is incorrect, that the side or the slab of the 4 slabs that are held up that the one that had the Chinese and Russian transcriptions of these statements was the one that was blown up. And so I wonder if that was targeted or not sophisticated, just coincidental.
The way that it blew up, though, is it blew towards the outside. So I don't know if the bomb or whatever happened was set in the middle and it just happened to blow up in that direction. But yeah, I don't know.
Because you can see some of the damage on that interior pillar right there.
But you're right. I don't know. Like, I didn't even think about that, about one of the tablets being targeted over, because it was just basically the one in the top.
Right. And if that were the case, like if I'm the guy and I go, hey, I want to take out just the Russian and Chinese version of these 10 commandments so that if there's a World War III and 100 years from now, we have to rebuild society. There's no Chinese or Russian. If that's some idiot's thought, then maybe he's lining just that one slab and then triggering it that way.
Yeah. What's also interesting that some people don't know about is that there is an actual time capsule, off to the side over here, buried, that has an inscription, that is a time capsule, but it has no open date. There's like no date for it to be unearthed. So I'm wondering, are they going to go ahead and dig this time capsule up? And
there's no bury date either, though. And that's the thing. Like, I think people aren't even sure if there is a time capsule. And there's two big questions that I have about this, because it's been a few days now, and you think they tore it down within hours. Like, it was
gone.
There. They were quick. They were there quickly to tear this down. So you think by this time we'd have two answers, and one of them is there a time capsule and what's in it? And the other question is, and maybe this links it to being Hillary Clinton, because we got camera footage all the time, but yet the only camera footage we don't have is somebody placing this bomb, and then we have some camera footage of the guy driving away from a different camera, but none of the car driving up to it. Like, I don't know, it's kind of Epstein cell-esque to me, like the lack of certain camera footage.
Well, the fact that they have any footage to show you at all just tells me that's the footage they want you to see. Right. Like any kind of Pentagon security footage, like, hey, there are frames missing, but we're showing you what we have. It's like, well, then you're showing me to kind of almost misdirect.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat said there was a cube replaced back in 2015, and somebody else said time capsules might be a biobomb, Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Oh, the cubists.
I don't know. It's weird. Like you said, misdirection. The only car that we've seen is this one silver car, kind of like a crummy footage of it. And I don't know, it looks more like a drunk teenager to me, because he's not even driving on the road. It's like driving on the side of the road for some reason. So I don't know if that's like not linked at all, or if they're trying to misdirect, but it is weird. You think you'd have like a full breakdown of all the footage of that day by now. Like,
just imagine like the movie scenario of this, you guys, is like some dark, skiff somewhere. Hillary's over a computer saying, okay, pull it up. And they pull up the security camera, and they see, like you said, some drunk teenager in his car. And they're like, oh, this will surely spook him. And they hit it with something, and he goes driving off. And the news to us is a car seen speeding away from the scene and so we're all just putting the wrong pieces together, and they're having a good laugh.
Yeah, it's a good possibility.
Yeah. And, before we came on air, I kind of mentioned, is this a misdirection, as Tom just stated? Is this a misdirection? What did they want us? Why did they want us to focus on this, monument being blown up and then taken down within hours? What was going on right around the same time that we should be paying attention to?
I think Brent has it. Putin did it.
Yeah, Putin definitely did it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure they haven't. A politician will come out and talk about that very soon.
Putin did this, and January 6th ate my homework. So I think we've got all the bases covered. Did you see that there's another obelisk? I have not been able to find much on this, so maybe somebody will know. But there's this obelisk in Vegan City, Vigan. And people are saying it's like a historic, like kind of demonic obelisk. But I haven't been able to find why that connection is made. But it was struck by lightning today. So there's a lot of people are making the connections between this obelisk in I don't even know, that was put in 1572. Here, I can show it on the screen really quick.
Go put it up on there.
This.
Maybe when we hit a certain frequency, like the Schumann resonance, moves off of a certain point, or when CERN dials up to a certain level, then all these obelisks will start just, becoming Tesla coils for the atmosphere. Who knows?
Broadcasting
some straight out of Fringe is what it sounds like. Maybe they're all put on certain ley lines, and yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah, I see the obelisk. Yeah. Where was this at, you said? Or where was it?
Shoot. I just saw it before. I'm not really 100% sure. It says Vegan City. Where's that at? Vigan? Which is... Oh, in the Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now with that going on, this week's been jam-packed with so much news, PJ and Tom, that, it was almost hard to, talk about how we were going to fit everything in this 2-hour show that we have, because there's so much to talk about. So, as we are heading off here, because we had this, just a couple months back, Tom and PJ, we had the trucker protests in Canada, right? Because
Yes.
of the vaccine mandates and the insane vax policies that Trudeau has pushed onto Canadian people. And we started seeing that kind of spread across the country, across the U.S. for a little bit. It was not as major as Canada, and there was a little bit elsewhere. But right now, there's a huge farmer uprising happening out in Europe. And PJ, you had a little bit about
I'm glad you brought up the Canadian example and the American example, because this is something that I've been talking about for a while. So as a truck driver myself, I saw the Canadian truck thing where they just parked. Essentially, if people are not familiar, they parked a bunch of trucks in, was it Ottawa or it doesn't matter. They parked them all in this major city in Canada for weeks on end. People were bringing them gas and food, and they were just basically saying, like, look, if you're going to force us to get a vaccine, we're just going to not work. We're going to block the city. And they made a good point, because the point was, hey, you're saying the government is now mad at truckers for shutting down businesses, and the point they're trying to make is that's what you've been doing to us for 2 years. So
and not just that, but to amend that, they did it in a peaceful way. They made it a party. They made it a thing that was a spectacle that drew people from the middle to their side, and they did it in a way that the news could not show it as anything but a peaceful rally, which is why you saw a bunch of weird Nazi flag plants and other obvious false flag dumb things, literal false flags.
Yeah. And not surprisingly, the government made themselves look so much worse, because the Ottawa, it was Ottawa. The Ottawa police literally said, we will kill your dogs if you don't come home. Yeah. They said this to truck drivers. If you're a truck driver and you have a dog at home, we will go and kill your dog if you don't stop this protest. So the government made themselves
that would have been
terrible.
the humane thing to do, because these truck drivers had dangerously left their dogs at home in the care of some other human.
And not only kill their dogs, they were going to take their kids away too.
Well, kids, dogs, I mean, the state doesn't see them as just a mouth. That's all.
Very true.
Yeah, right. So the point that I was going to make with that is, like, I feel like that was the example that America should have taken. And the problem with the American trucker protest is it was poorly organized. It didn't make a spectacle. It didn't make it into a party. They literally drove around DC. They didn't park anywhere. They just drove around DC a couple of days, not that many of them. There was no stated goal of what they wanted to overturn, because at this point, we're 2 years into the pandemic. Basically 2 years into the pandemic, most of the businesses had opened back up. Most places were like, especially for truck drivers, were just like, hey, you know what? We're not going to force the vaccine mandate on you. Sure, some businesses were, but in the trucking industry, it wasn't really a thing. So nobody knew what they were protesting for, and all they did was kind of slow down traffic on the Beltway around DC.
Right. Yeah.
It was extremely ineffective. So then we go to this the Netherlands protest, and this again is why I said we did it wrong. We waited too long. We had no stated goals, and we weren't effective. And now we're seeing actual effective civil unrest in the Netherlands. Because this week, basically on Tuesday, lawmakers came out and said, hey, we're going to shut down a bunch of farms. Tom was telling me earlier that they're actually going to seize some of this land too. So they want to reduce emissions by 50% when we're talking about nitrogen oxide and ammonia is what they're saying. So basically cow farts. They want to reduce by 50% by the year 2030, literally stating in these articles that this is part of the World Economic Forum's UN's Agenda 2030 plan, the thing that was a conspiracy theory before, even though they implemented this in 1992 and called it Agenda 21 back then. One of the quotes from the government was literally, the honest message is that not all farmers can continue their business, and those who do will likely have to farm differently. So they're literally telling you, not only are we going to make you reduce the amount of cows you have, and one of the stated reasons was because they're next to natural land, which I've made the point, there's no animals in nature that fart as well. I've never understood the cow farting. If it's in a pen, it's going to fart and kill the environment. And if it's in the wild, it's not somehow.
Well, it's, natural land as opposed to, unnatural alien land.
I'm glad you said that, though, because it's so crazy. Having grown up in the middle of the country, having grown up in farm country and grown up in a family of farmers, it's so weird to me that we see these big city people talking about these awful farms and how terrible they are for the environment. And I'm driving around, I'm like, I can breathe out here. It's so nice. Blue skies. I go to the city, it's just smog and shit. And places like China, people literally been wearing masks there since the 90s because the air quality is so bad. And yet somehow they've convinced these pack rats in New York City that farming country is what's killing the environment. Is mind-boggling to me.
It reminds me of
that. Have never left the east or west coast to believe that.
It reminds me of the tweet from Kyle Kalinske where he took a photo from a plane. He was traveling, I think, to like go see Joe Rogan do the JRE podcast. And so Kyle Kalinske, the leftist YouTuber, in the plane takes a photo of farms. So it's grid, it's grid-like and circles and squares all over. And he goes, weird how the land, makes these shapes. I wonder why this is. And people are like, do you not know where your food comes from? And I think that kind of goes to the pack rat mentality of the city folk, if you want to call them that, which is they don't know where the food comes from. They genuinely will tweet things like, oh, it doesn't matter if the farm's shut down, just go to the grocery store.
I've literally seen this, and I've seen people that have gone in and said, well, one lady bought meat. This is a real story. She bought meat from a grocery store, and she's like, what's this red stuff in it? And he's like, that's blood. It's meat. And she's like, oh, I won't. I only buy meat that doesn't have blood in it. I guess she bought it from not a grocery store this time. She bought it from like a local butcher, or something like that. Right.
Well, it would be
like, I get mine from
anyway.
the grocery store. It doesn't have blood in it.
Well, this ties right back into the Georgia Guidestones, keep humanity under 500 million. Well, how do you do that? You have to eliminate some food sources.
Absolutely.
And eliminate food sources is something that they've been talking about doing. I remember, what was it, 2018, 2019, when Ocasio-Cortez was out there, advocating to get rid of, cow farms and stuff across the country, because of course cow farts, as
cows only fart when they're on a farm,
right?
Just so people know.
Stated in the Green New Deal, and we should cut back on our intake on beef and other meats, right? And the very next day, after she was advocating for that, she spotted in a DC restaurant eating a big old hamburger. It just goes back to this mentality of these elites who want to impose these type of regulation, these types of rules on the populace, but they're not willing to give up any of these luxuries that they get to have. In fact, they are furious that middle class and everyday individuals are able to access the same type of things they are. They're mad that we get to go to the beach like they do. They're mad that we get to go to ski resorts that they do. They're mad because we get to partake in a lot of these areas where before, the rise of the United States, this was almost impossible. There was a definite class system. And if you were not of the wealthy elite, you did not get to participate in fun.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to add that they don't like that you can do the things that they can do because it doesn't illustrate the second-class citizenry. Like, you're supposed to know your place and not try to go to the beach while there's a lockdown. You're supposed to know your place and allow us to go to the French Laundry and you sit home and worry about your cans of beans. I don't know if you guys saw that the largest cricket farm was just finished. The largest installations, like a commercial, I guess it would be industrial, cricket farm to grow crickets as a source of food for you and I is just finished in Canada. And I think it was Ottawa, could have been Toronto. Someone will know.
I'm not
surprised. They just finished the largest cricket farm. So what does that tell you? When they're shutting the truckers off, they're shutting the truckers out or turning them off of their jobs, telling them stay home. They're telling the farmers don't farm, dump whatever you have.
Don't even have a job or be able to provide for your family. Give up your land.
It's like they're breaking the supply chain, but they're not intending to replace it. They're just going to later feed you a cricket.
Yeah, interesting that, there's food processing plants all across the country and around the world that are burning down, but these bug farms seem to be thriving and being built, day after day.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, the thing about the farm thing is I love turning to Snopes like this, or for the food processing plant stuff, because you'll get on Snopes and they'll say, here's the list of the 100 food processing plants that burnt down, and here's why it's bullshit, because 2 of them were not real out of 100. And it's like, okay, so you planted 2 stories that turned out not to be real. And then they're like, later on in the article, it's like, yeah, normal year, like last year was actually higher than normal and it was 20. This year it's 100, but 2 of them were fake, so it's 98, so it's actually not happening. Like,
well, and I don't care for the numbers. So I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
And sorry about that, Frank. We were both clicking that at the same time to highlight that comment. That's why I kept flashing. No, I don't buy the numbers thing, because even if you look and say, well, it's 20 last year and 100 this year, but man, climate change has a lot to do with those hatcheries all catching fire. Like, it's not just a random 20, it's the top number. So it's not just a random 101 burning down. It's like the top biggest 100 or maybe it's a random 100 out of the top 1,000. Like, these are the tip of the iceberg in volume. So it's not just that we're losing distribution centers for food, it's that the biggest ones in their industries are burning down.
Well, also, I mean, the baby formula thing's a perfect example of this because it's not a fire. The FDA said back in 2019. Yeah, the FDA said back in 2019 that, hey, your facility's not very clean, but we're not going to come check you again until 2022. And then they check it again in 2022 when we're already experiencing supply chain shortages. They shut it down. And then we have this major baby formula shortage. And the week after it opens back up, there's a flood. I live not that far from this place. There was like no flooding. So I don't know if they're trying to say a pipe burst. So we got like another Georgia scenario. Maybe there's a bunch of ballots underneath a desk somewhere, but it's
DJ. I mean, honestly, as just a hypothetical, an academic exercise, you and I are in Michigan. Would you put it past the people who are currently operating the state to completely fake this and just simply shut it down to see how long they can hold Abbott out?
You mean the people who faked a governor assassination in Elk Rapids?
I mean the people that campaigned to fix the damn roads and still have not done so.
No, I was just saying. I was just agreeing with you. Like, yeah, people who literally faked a governor assassination wouldn't surprise me. Is my point. The biggest FBI scandal in the last decade or 20 years or however long that the media does not want to touch. It wouldn't surprise me. Whitmer is literally worse than Cuomo, and she's somehow skated by because we're in the middle of the country. That's the truth of it.
Kat says, "Stop with a formula shortage. Women should breastfeed, and so should men." Right? There was an article that we were talking about earlier today.
Chest feeding. You gotta say it right.
Well, no. The article was, "Why can't men breastfeed too?"
Yeah, men have breasts. Men have breast cancer. I was told.
Did you notice at the end of the article like basically says, well, some men actually can breastfeed. And then if you read the whole article, by the end it says, and sometimes that colostrum or milk is actually from a tumor.
Yeah. But they
it's
also
it's not actually milk. It's like pus.
But they also said in that same article that you can't actually produce milk yourself as men. You have to ingest estrogen and some other lactating hormone in order to try to recreate some type of lactation. However, it comes with severe side effects
because it's not milk. It's not healthy. It's tumor juice. It's disgusting. It's pus. But whatever
willing to do that already has severe problems, right? We all agree with. Okay.
Yeah. Anybody who tries to chest feed their child, it literally, we should stop. I made this tweet earlier today, which is a thread of things that we need to stop saying, like pro-choice. These are pro-abortion people, right? Or gender-affirming care. It's literally, you're literally denying someone's you're denying reality. You're not affirming anything. So with chest feeding, we have to stop calling it that, because if someone's going to stick their toddler's mouth around a man's nipple, we should just call it what it is. This is child abuse. It's creepy. It's pedophilic. It's going to lead to starvation. This is just child abuse. We shouldn't say chest feeding.
One of the lines in that story was, men want to learn how to bond with their kids more. Well, not through chest feeding, not through breastfeeding. I could bond through. I was successfully able to bond with my children through natural ways the father bonds with their children. I didn't need to.
Yeah, how about a game of catch? Whatever.
I was going to say, buy a baseball mitt.
No, but those same people, Tom, wrote an article, not Fatherly, but another place wrote an article. I can't believe, I think it was the Washington Post had an op-ed a couple months ago talking about how parents shouldn't play with their children. They don't want to play with you.
Man, that's too bad. It seems like the people that write and work at the Washington Post, it seems as if those are the people who may be unhappy, the people who may be honest in reporting that their kids do not want to play with them. That wouldn't entirely shock me. Like, Taylor Lorenz does not have children, but if she did, it would not shock me to hear that her kids do not want to play with her. Other Washington Post reporters, I don't want to, say that they're all garbage. We'll say that 90%, 95% of them probably don't have children that like them or respect them or want to be around them. And for the most part, I mean, I don't have kids yet. Maybe someday, if God is willing to bless me with 4, please, 3 boys, 1 girl. But if that can ever happen, I would still think there's going to be a time where my kids don't think I'm cool either. That's the goal. You want your kids to not think you're too cool, maybe think you're a little too strict, and to one day want to maybe have your respect.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, Taylor Lorenz, by the way, I don't think she's ever going to have kids. I mean, what is she, like 60 years old or something like that? No, I mean, yeah, I think these are joyless people at the Washington Post. It wasn't it the Washington Post that literally wrote this article about a teenage girl who got pregnant and how awful it was that she actually gave birth. And then if you read the article, at one point they're like, oh, it's awful because she used to hang out at the local Wendy's and the skate park, and now she can't do that as much because she's got a kid. Isn't this just terrible? And it's awful. And she goes on to say, you know what? I'm so glad that I kept this kid. I didn't know that I could love someone that much. So in this article, you think, like, if it was an honestly written article and it still came across a different way than they intended, you would think, oh, look if you shut down abortion facilities, these girls will have kids and realize, you know what? There's something more to life than hanging out at the skate park with Kyle, the douchebag, who punches holes through my drywall.
But no, there's nothing better in life than hanging out at the skate park with Kyle, slamming monsters and then putting his fist through the drywall.
That's what the Washington Post wants you to think. That's the life.
That's what Taylor Lorenz did until 3 years ago, when it became more prudent not to.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. It's like if you read the article honestly, you'd be like, oh yeah, this girl actually found out that she loves her child and her life is not destroyed. But they still tried to make it a pro-abortion argument. They couldn't get it across.
If they allow their readers at the Washington Post to see outside themselves and to see that, hey, it turns out that X number of women who were going to have an abortion may later not, and be happy that they didn't. If they allow for that kind of personal growth and development within the reader, then they'll lose the ability to program the reader. They need that person to be willing to accept whatever the line is and to repeat it, which is why, I mean, the only people that read it sincerely and get anything out of it do exactly that. And then the people that don't are doing what we do, ripping up headlines and going, can you believe that they said this? And Taylor
Right.
Lorenz, for the last thing I'll say about her, whether she's 50 or 30, it doesn't really matter. I don't think she'll have children for the obvious reality that no one is that crazy to stick their dick in that crazy.
You'd hope so.
But it goes back to the worldview that has been pushed onto society for the last, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years, is that you shouldn't have kids until you're financially stable. And that might not happen to maybe you're 35 or 40, which leads to a lower birth rate in the country. And that's something that we've seen across the planet. It's a lower birth rate. We're not hitting replacement birth rate anymore. We're having too many people die versus people being born. Myself and my wife, we started having children as soon as we got married. I was 21 and she was 18, and we have 3. We probably would have had a lot more if we would have continued. But our philosophy was that you're never going to be financially secure, bringing a baby on unless you become like a millionaire or something. So, why not experience the joy of having children around you? Because they're obviously, hopefully, if you raise them right, they'll be the ones that will be there for you as you age into your, into our twilight years.
Well, I think that this is everything that they do is intentional, but like this is what's leading to higher divorce rates. I believe this is what's leading to people who don't actually want to be around their kids, because by the time they get to the 35, right, or whatever the number you're supposed to be at to get married according to society now, right? Once you get there, your wife, you have your own life. You're told you're supposed to build up your own financial wealth. You have your own things. And instead of getting married when you're young and poor and have nothing and build something together, which actually strengthens a marriage and strengthens a bond, and then everything is your stuff, not my stuff and her stuff, right? Instead it becomes that. And then when you add kids into the mix, it's like, well, this is mine. This is what I built before, and you're screwing this up. I've got, 15, 17, 18 years of after high school life, living on my own and doing my own stuff. I literally don't know how to be not an individual anymore. Please take my kids, and wife wants to share stuff, so get rid of her prenuptial agreement and all that. It's not leading to happy families. Everything that's being done is to deter the nuclear family, including the lie that you have to be financially stable and well off and have your whole life put together before you get married and have kids. Because it was the same for me as you, Frank. I was 21 or 22 when I got married, and we had kids within a year of being married. I think some of our strongest memories as a family is those times when we've struggled financially and we've had to grow closer together to get through some of the more financial hard times, where the children, our kids understand, they appreciate, and they value the things that we're able to get now versus back when we didn't have anything or it was hard to come by.
they get excited when you went to the grocery store and you bought them a snack maybe that they really wanted, and they were very grateful for that. Versus, if they have everything handed to them and given all this wealth, they don't worry about anything. They're truly not, grateful or appreciative of anything. And again, you suffered that family bonds are a lot less.
One of the greatest memories I have from the first year of my marriage was one of the first fights me and my wife got into, and we were broke. I mean, broke when we got married. Like, I can't even tell you how broke. And we got into our first fight as a married couple, and I walked a mile down to the gas station because I didn't want to use gas. And I had like $1, like we were that broke, and I bought her a Reese's peanut butter cup and apologized to her because that was her favorite kid. It was like such a stupid memory, but like, it's one of those things. It's like, you're struggling together and you're giving whatever little you have left to the other person. That builds bonds, I think. So I don't know where I was going with that stupid story, but
great story. No, great story.
Can I say something really quick though? Because
we were talking. To look forward to getting married this August. Then
you're getting married in August.
That's right.
Oh, hey, congrats, man.
Yes, congratulations. Are we going to live stream the ceremony?
Yeah, actually, I was hoping that I'd have that stream set up. I was hoping that maybe you want to. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so that'll be fun.
All donations goes to Tom's honeymoon.
Yeah, or how about just the wedding fund? Yeah, links in description below.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say we did get a little off topic on one thing that I did want to say before we moved on to a different thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we were talking earlier about the Dutch farmer thing, and I feel like sometimes I talk about things assuming people know what I'm talking about. So we were kind of saying what was going on, but the reason I was saying it was effective, it was the point I was making earlier, compared to the American trucker. It was a total joke. That's why nobody joined it. But like the Canadian one was effective. And the reason I'm saying the Netherlands one is effective is because they're actually protesting in a similar way to Canada. They're blocking off whole streets with tractors. They're I mean, you don't have to agree with everything new, but they're lighting hay bales on fire on the sides of the roads. And my absolute favorite one, if you mind if I show this clip really quick,
go ahead.
Is they took a manure spreader down to a government office and literally flooded the government office with manure. It's too good. I just love this. I don't know if it froze, but can you hear my audio or not?
No, I don't hear. Is there music supposed to be playing or sound? I don't hear any sound coming from it.
Yeah, so you can see the cars lining up and the tractors lining up.
Yeah, when you
fire,
hit
hay bales on the side of the road on fire.
When you hit the share button, hit the share audio too. There should be a little option for that. So sometimes.
And then pouring manure on the police cars.
we totally did January 6th wrong. We should have brought the manure flingers with us.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you over the music. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just stating that when you do the share, you can on the share screen. There's a little button there when it pops up to share audio. Make sure you click on that so that way we can hear it too.
Gotcha. My bad. Yeah.
No big. And I was just saying we did January 6th wrong. We should have brought the manure spreader with us.
Right. Yeah. Did you see there's another January 6th happening in Sri Lanka today?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did see that. Do you have that story? You want to pull that up?
I haven't even looked at it much yet.
Are we calling it a January 6th if it's an actual insurrection?
No. This is nothing like January 6th. They actually did do an insurrection, so you're right.
They were swimming in the presidential pool or something.
Yeah, I actually have the video of it if you guys want to see it. I haven't looked much into this yet, but
there they are. Wow.
This is what the grasshopper was talking about when he said the ants will realize there are more of them than there are of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
Look at that.
You know what though? I don't see one single guy in a Viking helmet, so I don't think it's a crime.
No, I think you're right.
I think you have to have a guy in a vegan in a buffalo helmet or a Viking helmet for it to be a crime. So no gulag for these people. They actually did overthrow the president, though.
Yeah, did you see that he was seen leaving with a single bag?
Suitcases. No, they were very big suitcases. I guarantee you they're filled with cash.
Yeah, fit whatever you can in this bag. That's all you get.
And speaking,
can you imagine that you go to the podium and you're like, just want to make sure everyone's aware we're filing bankruptcy. Okay, thanks. And then you just gone.
It's like that Michael Scott part of the episode of Office. I declare bankruptcy.
You can't just say you're bankrupt. No, I didn't
Declaring
say
it doesn't do anything.
declared it.
I declared it.
Yeah.
I declared it. No, the dude left with like 2 suitcases. There were huge suitcases. I guarantee you there was a bunch of cash inside those suitcases. This country might have been bankrupt, but he isn't.
Right. Yeah.
All that foreign aid we sent to the embassies or to the State Department.
Maybe he'll hop on a U-boat and join Hitler in Antarctica or something, or Argentina, but depending on which conspiracy you believe, Argentina or
well,
yeah, but it's just crazy to see that Putin is able to topple Sri Lanka like that. Like, how did Putin get away with it?
Maybe because we didn't send $40 billion to Sri Lanka, and that would have held Putin at bay.
Dude,
yeah, we sent
nice
it to Ukraine, but we didn't send it to Sri Lanka. That's the problem.
It's like 90 billion at this point now. If you're
there was another 400 million today, wasn't there, or 40
That's
million?
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They just do another one every day, so people like think they're seeing the same story from yesterday, and they don't realize that it's like, no, it wasn't 43 billion and then 400 million or whatever. It was like 400 million today and tomorrow and the next day and the day after that.
And they're like, no, I just saw an order. Biden's giving them 1.5 billion, and you're like, yep, that too. Add it up.
Add it up. Yeah, I saw that Lizard Graham was over there with what's his name, the dude that lied about his service in Vietnam. That's Senator
Blumenthal.
Thank you.
That's right.
Yeah, they made their pilgrimages to Ukraine to go shake the hand of the money launderer himself down there. So
they are both literally and metaphorically the scaliest dudes next to Chuck Schumer in the Senate.
Absolutely. I gotta say, it's weird to me. It's like, this war, the war is really, 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 really bad when every single video you've seen come out of the country is fake, and they have U2 concerts and Nancy Pelosi and Ben Stiller over there. That's how you know that this is a very serious war worth $90 billion of American taxpayer funding.
I can't
imagine it's like Night at the Museum #4 is being shot over there. And all of a sudden, Putin's in it as a cameo, and they've got... It's unreal.
I can't take the credit for Lizard Graham. That was coined by Tom right there. I just use it from time to time.
But I also
like it. I'm
will
gonna
call
borrow that.
Lizard Cheney is now also. So just any of the, anything that works.
No, but it's funny because, it says for being a super serious war, you didn't see all of these individuals, heading over to, I don't know, maybe Iraq during our Desert Storm, all these celebrities and all these guys, unless it was USO show, but that's, held off in the country that wasn't being attacked in.
Yeah, and then when Brian Williams went over there, he got his helicopter shot down. Talking about more fake news. No, but you're right. Like when you did see footage from Iraq or Afghanistan of a reporter, they would be like, yeah, I'm behind this wall and these soldiers are like lobbing grenades at the insurgents over there. And then when it's Ukraine, it's like, hey, that thing of Snake Island where we literally showed you helicopter footage of an island somewhere in the world, and then we made up a bunch of audio, and that video game footage of the Ghost of Kiev and all the pictures of cars knocked over, but none of the windows are broken. That's literally all we've seen. Have you guys seen more than I have? Because I haven't seen a lot of footage that hasn't been debunked.
No, and if you go to Volunteers for Ukraine, the subreddit, because occasionally you got to go poke around and see what the AIDS brains are up to. The Volunteers for Ukraine subreddit, I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, still the top post of the day was a shirt that someone had made in their home. And it was like a silk screening of or a laser print of the image, and it just says Russian ship, go fuck yourself. And it was just a guy standing, and it was a fake image with a fake quote of a fake story that was debunked, I think, almost 2 months ago.
It was debunked like the next day, I think. It was like quickly debunked. The Ghost of Kiev was like a little bit longer because but it was all debunked fairly quickly.
So Snake Island is going to be sold as a movie. The Ghost of Kiev is going to be sold as Top Gun Russian.
That's Top Gun.
The Ghost of Kiev will be a character in the next Call of Duty. I guarantee it.
Or Fortnite.
I mean, it'd be a cool mission to play because then you find out that it's not real.
Yeah.
And that you actually just finally you shoot down your objective and you realize it's one of your guys.
Right. There we go.
Or maybe it'll be part of the Metal Gear
no Russian.
Series.
Well, Metal Gear's over now. They Konami got rid of Kojima a few years ago, but yeah.
Never mind. That was a pretty awesome series.
I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid fan. I got a Big Boss poster over here that's like a 1984, and it says "Big Boss is watching you." Yeah.
Oh man. Now you know what else is going on? Check this out. I had this. I was going to do a story on this, but I never got around to it. You know how busy things can get sometimes when you're trying to cover news, and you're like, "There's not enough of me to cover all this stuff, all this weirdness." But check this out. This is over in Ohio. So,
oh wow, that's why it's so gay.
This is what I grew up fearing was the gay police.
Apologies to people in Ohio. It's a joke.
Division of Police. I'm your LGBTQIA+ liaison officer, and we're unveiling right now our Pride Cruiser for the month of June.
Yeah, I'm going to mute this music. It's gay. Anyway, so you see, report hate crimes, Pride, the Pride, the equal flag or whatever. Please report hate crimes. So.
Well, I just can't wait till they bust someone's head through a plate glass window for misgendering someone.
They're going to roll up. They're going. It's going to be like you're getting swatted.
Can I just point out the fact that the bumper says "report hate crimes" as if hate crimes is an actual thing that police
Where was it at?
deal with?
Right there.
Like, what is a hate crime?
It's whatever they want it to be.
This what's always annoyed me is like the idea of a hate crime. Because apparently in some places you can get charged more for it being a hate crime. Like, yeah, opposed to a murder of love.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find a crime where you rob and murder someone.
Have you never heard of a crime of passion?
Them.
Yeah, like if you come home and you see your wife on top of the mailman and you kill the mailman because he has a heat of the moment, crime of passion. Right? Yeah, it wasn't. You didn't hate him. You just
that's
loved
right.
her
You're just
much.
passionate about how you felt about him banging your wife. That's right.
You guys are over in Michigan. Isn't Ohio like a neighbor of you guys?
It is. Yeah.
Listen. I'm not going to even claim that. We went to war with Ohio. Not
literally
this, but Michigan went to war with Ohio, and we'll do it again. Don't make us come down there.
I don't know. They got the gay police now, man. They roll in with
this. This is my thought. When I saw that, I saw that photo of the cop car in June, and I'm like. It's not just, they're not only arresting people who commit hate crimes. Like, this isn't just like the special squad car that only goes out on gay assignments. This is just another cop car that happens to be gay. So now hear me out. Can you imagine being just jaywalking? Just, you're just George Floyd, just minding your own business, just living upstanding citizen life. And then you get arrested and thrown in the back of not just a normal cop car in Columbus, which is already bad enough, but you've got to go through the system having ridden in that monstrosity.
I would probably reach for the cop's gun at that point.
That's what I'm saying. Commit suicide by cop because you don't want to be arrested. If you go to prison after riding in that car,
yeah. Suicide by cop sounds preferable to riding in the back of the gay cruiser. I got to say, though, this sounds like the greatest, worst reality TV show of all time. You could just imagine them driving around arresting gay Terry like over and over and over again.
He's on his rollerblades.
He just go out on gay crimes.
He just rolls up on his rollerblades and throws his hands on the truck. Yeah.
I want to know: does the officer driving?
What are you going to do with that nightstick there, officer?
I bet you're going to have to search me really thoroughly, huh?
If they're not gay, are they not? Isn't that like appropriating culture or something?
Yeah, Frank, can you pull that back up? I'm pretty sure Officer Lutz had a persuasion about him. I don't know if you can make that full screen. He seemed as if he would be riding in that car one way or the other eventually.
You might be right.
If they search his vehicle's computer, they're not going to like what they find.
Probably not. Yeah, but I would definitely. Yeah, we're making a run for it. If I get lit up from behind by a
lit up from behind.
Hang on. Phrasing.
You get lit up from behind once, and then again when you got your hands on the hood. I guess. God.
He's doing a cavity search, but he's also holding each of your wrists.
Officer, why are both your hands on my shoulders?
That's right. Is there another one of you back there?
Worst proctologist ever.
One of the best ENTs ever.
Yeah, somebody said it was missing the defund the police sticker on it.
It really is, yeah. And he's missing the mask. He doesn't have a mask hanging in his rear view.
No, he didn't. No mask and no defund the police. And
you only have to wear the mask when you drive. That's the only time I see people wearing them anymore. I don't think I've seen a person except one instance in the last 3 months of a person wearing a mask outside or in a business, but I've seen like 20 of them driving. So I'm under the assumption now that these people literally only wear it in the car. but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Frank Peter said all it needed was a disco ball.
It'd be two disco balls. Yeah. His fuzzy dice would be inappropriate. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Ohio needed anything else to give Michiganders a reason to call them gay, but they did. So
they did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's on you, Ohio. That's not us.
Hey, the next Michigan Ohio State game is going to be pretty lit.
It's going to be lit. Yeah.
Oh,
lit up from behind, as Frank said.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna never get that out of my mind. As Frank saying, if I ever get lit up from behind by that gay cop in the pride car,
nobody clipped that. Nobody
thrown
clipped that,
down
please.
on the asphalt.
I need to make that a button on my board.
Come on, man.
Can you guys hear that when I use the sound
Yeah, I
clips?
heard that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not running through your computer, but we can hear it on your mic.
Oh, well, no, it should be coming through my soundboard, but I don't know.
Officer Klutz. Oh my goodness. That was awesome. That was awesome. So let me grab this story here. This is as you guys know, the rightful winner of the Georgia election back in 2018, Miss Stacey Field Goal Teeth Abrams here. Was out there talking about Georgia Democrat Stacey Abrams' limitless late-term abortion is exactly part of my faith. And there's no denying that, many of us have talked about it's part of their religion. It's a cult. Abortion is one of the highest tenets they have in the on the left side of the spectrum here.
Child sacrifice. They got to do it somehow. If it's not on a pyramid over a fire, it's got to be somehow.
Yeah,
it's funny because I used to think that the abortionist child sacrifice argument was a little bit like ridiculous, like not ridiculous. Like I was always against abortion, but I always thought it was like a little overstating it. And the last few years, I'm like, no, this actually literally is child sacrifice at this point. Like you're sacrificing your child for your career, for your job, for social justice. Like there's literally women. I played a TikTok video yesterday or 2 days ago of a woman saying, I'm about to go out and catch me a load just to have an abortion for funsies.
All right.
Okay. Now I'll be honest. We've all had that one weekend in college where we caught a load for funsies.
No, with abortion for funsies, though. Yeah.
No, I know. I was just teasing. But okay, so if a woman makes a sacrifice of having the abortion because, like you said, it's for her career or for her family or for her life or whatever, I don't think it's even that big of a jump to say that it is also a form of. I mean, you can call it witchcraft or you can call it a voodoo or ritual sacrifice. I mean, I think it's all kind of the same, whether you want to call it a tangible career or if some people believe that it gives them some kind of, supernatural or another dimensional power. I mean, there's demonology in this too.
Absolutely.
There's Satanism in this too.
No, I was actually agreeing with calling it child sacrifice. I was saying I didn't used to think that. And then as I've seen just how ritualistic and satanic and like just to see how they reacted to even women in California, like the idea that some woman somewhere won't be able to have an abortion 5 minutes before the child is born. I mean, it absolutely is. There's no doubt that this is a spiritual warfare, and this is absolutely a demonic ritual of their religion. And Stacey Abrams. I mean, you can play the clip, but Stacey Abrams they're saying it now. That's the crazy part. They're saying all the quiet parts out loud.
Yeah.
When you were saying you used to not think of it as being that, or maybe that would be over the top. And I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to be argumentative. I agree. I think it sounds like that on its face. Like that would be crazy to think that it's that.
No.
But if you can look at it from the perspective of the people at the very top believe it's that, they just have to sell it to the masses in some other way. They'll sell it to you from the Michelle Williams. They'll sell it to you from the people as, oh, it's my career. Oh, it's your freedom. But in reality, for the people above you, if you don't believe it or you do, either way, they believe it's some kind of otherworldly thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, are we just going to ignore the spirit cooking emails that we see between the tops of our government, Hillary Clinton and Marina Abramovich,
chickens to Moloch in the backyard? This woman right here, Stacey Abrams, A1, will never sacrifice a chicken.
Well, deep fried.
So let's go ahead and take a listen to what she says here in their own words. So it's out there on record.
And for me, the decision to be pro-choice is exactly part of my faith. I cannot strike down another person's rights simply because I don't agree. My shield is to say that you have the right to make your own choices. I think that you protect the vulnerable and you wrap them in your love. And for me, the decision to be pro-choice is exactly part of my faith.
Yeah.
You're not pro-choice. You're pro-abortion. You literally said you don't. It's weird to me that abortion is the only type of murder where we put choice of the murderer in it as a justification of it. It's insane. I don't get that. Like the idea that the 14th Amendment gave us privacy to kill children is not only insane on its face, so much so that RGB, the great notorious RGB, said it was wrongfully decided. But shoot, what was I saying before? That they call it choice, right? When I totally lost my point. I'm just off on. Go ahead and fill in for me.
No, but you're right. No, this is these people like Stacey Abrams and the rest of these individuals going out there. You know, you just had Biden signing an executive order trying to end round the Supreme Court's decision on Roe v. Wade, and you know he's instructed the HHS to facilitate women in states that have more rigorous roadblocks on abortion to transport them to other states that have abortion available to them.
Yeah.
Sick. I mean, who's interested in finding new ways to do interstate and intrastate travel from the federal government to facilitate, I guess it would be not just hundreds, but tens of thousands of American babies a month being slaughtered.
Well, these are the same people who had suggested, if you guys remember, just over a year ago, that if you weren't vaccinated, they would try to restrict your interstate travel. So, for example, here in the state of Florida, they were going to try to limit our travel here in the state of Florida since we weren't pushing the vax as hard as other states, and limit our ability to be able to travel through within the United States. I remember doing a couple stories about that, where that was something they were thinking about, or some ideas that were floating around with Fauci and the HHS and, of course, the Biden regime, to try to limit people's access to be able to travel abroad within travel within the United States because of your vax status. So they got no problem with privacy issues or mandating something. They just, it's different when they do it, right? And that's typically the line that it goes with.
Yeah, all their arguments are bad, by the way. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, all their arguments are really bad, by the way, because now they're trying to say, when you bring up that point that you just brought up, that, you say you're my body, my choice, which was the parroted line that the right used when they were all pro-abortion, but you can't decide in a vaccine. And they're like, well, you're my body, my choice, but you don't believe in abortion. It's like, actually, our argument is the only one that makes sense, because when we're talking about vaccine status, we're talking about we want to be able to decide for our bodies. We're completely logically consistent to say that child's body is not your body. The thing with its own fingerprints, its own DNA, its own heartbeat is its own body, right? So the right is the only one who's consistent on this. They're not consistent. They say my body, my choice when it comes to child sacrifice. But as soon as you don't want to get the experimental vaccine put in your veins and get facial paralysis like Justin Bieber, all of a sudden they're not my body, my choice. And they don't ever reconcile that point.
It's also crazy that they'll say you not getting the vaccine is you not capitulating to something medical that might affect me. Like, you not doing something could affect me, versus the abortion argument is literally you're doing something that absolutely affects someone else, being that unborn child. And they have it reversed. They're saying, the vaccine, you have to get it because of what could happen to me if you don't. And of the abortion, well, you have to be able to kill the baby because, of course, we don't think of the baby as another person, but because of what could happen to the mother if she doesn't have a free, hoary life. And I don't understand that. I don't judge the people, but I mean, I judge versus the biblical judge is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
they also obviously don't believe in the vaccine, by the way. If they believed in it so damn much, they wouldn't be worried if you didn't have it.
Correct.
The argument went from the vaccine will stop you from getting COVID to the vaccine will make it that when you absolutely do get COVID, because you will, it won't be as bad for some reason.
You won't
and
go to the
no
hospital.
Statistics to back this up.
You won't get sick.
Yeah. What's the line
you won't give it to anyone else
that everybody uses when they get when they still get COVID after they got all the boosters? I'm thankfully I'm boosted against COVID, or thankfully I got the booster.
So thankful for my
so
vaccination, or it would have been so much worse. I'm so happy I was boosted, or it would have been. Yep, absolutely the same thing. It's the same refrain, and it's almost as if they can't admit, hey, this didn't work. Why did it not work? I'm angry. They go, oh no, it did work. It's working. It's just insane.
The left has more faith than Christians do. Like, seriously, like, that's a faith that I don't have. Is like, yes, I did absolutely get the thing that the shot was going to make me not get, and I'm sick as a dog, but it would have been so much. Well, like, you have nothing to back that up.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and they're anti-science if they're pro-faith in that regard, because the science would say you weren't sick 3 years ago with this. You are terribly sick now. The only thing that's changed is 3 doses of Pfizer.
Yeah.
So we have this servicewoman here in the video we're about to watch here talking about Roe v. Wade, and she is talking about this and how her loyalty might not be to the United States anymore, even being a service member. And I can't see, I don't know whose army you said.
That's a sergeant.
Sergeant. Okay, so sergeant in the U.S. Army here, and listen to what she says about this here, about the Roe v. Wade thing. So let's take a listen.
I have thoughts. And I have questions. And
Here
It
she
happened. It happened. I woke up from a nap to this. On deployment. I woke up from a nap to this news. America is waking up to this news. I just extended my contract to continue serving this country a week ago. How am I supposed to swear to support and defend the Constitution and a country that treats its women like second-class citizens?
It treats its babies like
How am I
humans again.
supposed to do that? How am I supposed to do that with pride?
You pause it.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to go through the ranks of the military, sleeping with everyone and anyone you want with no repercussions or consequences that could result in a pregnancy without, I mean, that's what she's saying, right? She's saying, how can I do this without my abortions? I can't sleep with everyone without them. I'll have to resign.
The whole video is her admitting she's a barracks bunny. And it's the whole thing, is her saying, I can't imagine being on deployment, not sleeping with every single person in the barracks.
And not having any consequence because of it.
Right. Yeah, not having any consequences.
I mean, she's telling you that this is like she's representing all women in the military, saying women like us all being treated this way. We're going to be we're going to have had sex with, but we're not going to be able to kill the kid that you put in us. That's kind of what she's saying.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
Yeah,
but I mean, they literally don't have shame about this anymore. Like, you've seen the arguments all over the place of them going, this is going to destroy hookup culture. Like, I knew a lot of these people were using abortion as contraception, and they were being, pretty openly slutty. But it's like, it's so weird to hear people say, like, I can't believe that I can't get drunk at a bar and take home some random stranger for 2 minutes of meaningless sex. Who admits to that? It's so weird. It's so gross. I don't know. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here she goes off, finishing off this little tirade.
How am I supposed to do that with love and honor? How am I supposed to wake up every day and put on a freaking uniform that says United States Army when the United States doesn't even give a rat's ass about me?
Because they own you because of your contract?
About the guns they're allowed to buy that kill the children that I'm forced to give birth to. Think about that.
Hold on. Can you pause
it
really quick?
You mean the guns that are in our Constitution?
The guns that are in our Constitution, the abortion that's not in our Constitution, which was the point of overturning Roe v. Wade. But it's just it's like she thinks she's an individual. Like, that's the thing. Like, when you're in the military, you're constantly, you are not an individual. And the biggest insult, and I don't know if she's a sergeant because this is a stitch. So the first woman we saw was a sergeant, and she's not wearing her rank, so I don't know what she is. But you'd think if she had soldiers working underneath her, she would be like, use that line at some point. Like, you're not an individual.
Yeah.
But she's here going, oh, I'm an individual. I should be able to sleep around, have no consequences. I can't believe I have to serve a contract that I signed. You literally are owned by the United States government when you're a soldier. Like, that is the thing you have to accept.
I don't understand her
You've
problem.
made the choice.
I mean, if she gets pregnant and they, God forbid, they don't allow her to have her abortion, can't she just jump in line for the next booster?
If she's still in, she has the boosters, though. That's the thing, too. So she doesn't have much to worry about.
Or she could also
why is she's not getting pregnant.
Well, she could also opt to be transitioned as well. That would be paid for in the Army. So, I mean, there's that as well, and that would take care of that issue.
The sad thing is, though, is like in another world, I'm sure she would be a very sweet person. Like, I want to see the best in people. Maybe that's like the Christian perspective, but I want to look at this and say, like, in another world without the brainwashing, without the warped perspective and sense of self, a woman like this would have more pride and, like she says, love and honor in her job, thinking that it's a positive that her employer doesn't want her to abort her unborn baby.
Right.
She would think that this is a positive. If my boss came to me and said, hey, we're going to give you more money if you do not have kids, I'd be insulted. And then I'd lie and say, okay, for how long? And for her to do it kind of the other way is saying, well, they're going to make it harder for me and make me have kids. She says she's going to be forced to be, to give birth to the children she's forced to give birth to, she says, unless they're holding her down and making her a baby farm. That's not what's happening, but the melodrama is certainly nothing new in the military, I guess.
Well, that's why I wanted you to pause it, because I get so sick of this argument of forced. Like, force actually is a word that means something, and to say that if you do nothing and biologically your baby will be born if you just don't kill it, how is this like? It doesn't actually make sense to call this force. You're saying you're not interrupting a natural biological process is force. It's another stupid
to be clear,
argument.
I just want to make sure Ocean breathes salty. No, I'm not saying I think the best of her now. I'm saying, in an alternate universe, I'm sure she would not be like this. People are genuinely not this, backwards thinking that their love or their dignity or their honor or respect in their job should come from being able to, self-mutilate, which is kind of what this is. I mean, if you think of your kids as part of yourself, as these people clearly do, they say it's their body, their choice. Then what is it? Self-mutilation? We shouldn't allow that.
Yeah. Aaron says, who's forcing her to have sex?
Well, you want to talk about that though? Like this idea, I love the fact that the women like this will absolutely tell you that not having abortions is part of the patriarchy. They'll wear the stupid Handmaid's Tale outfits. They've never read the book. They've just read they've watched the shitty Hulu version of it, right? But like they'll tell you that this is all the patriarchy that wants you to have your kids, and it's like, if we're gonna really have a conspiracy about the patriarchy, maybe it's the fact that all these horny men around you have convinced you to get an OnlyFans and to sleep with them. And kill your child so they can have no responsibility. Like that to me sounds more like something that a man would do, or not a man in a true sense, like in a Christian sense, but in like a scoundrel kind of sense would do, is to convince women that it's somehow freeing and somehow empowering to give your body away on the internet or at a bar to a random stranger.
That's very Kylie.
That's the patriarchy. If you're going to talk about a conspiracy,
to think like,
Kylie.
some guys like, you should do that. It's very Kyle-esque.
Yeah,
it is very Kyle-esque. Yeah.
So let's finish.
It's not Chad at all.
Not Chad
at
all. Total
He's
Kyle conspiracy.
Kyle. Okay, here we go.
Oh, that's so funny. This effect on female service women is an unintended consequence, which means that lawmakers and Supreme Court justices probably weren't thinking about this when they wrote their 213 some odd page report on it, right? They probably were not thinking about this consequence, but it is one. And it affects the very people that those lawmakers hold to a higher standard because they support the troops. Do you really, though? You really support the troops, even though this is going to greatly lessen the retention of women in the ranks of this military?
I see this as an absolute
You support the troops, even though you are going to ruin some women's careers? I'm deployed right now. And I am a medic, so I know how this works of like, I have an extremely limited access to birth control. Women in the military.
She's deployed, which means she's not there with her husband, by the way.
That's
she's
what I'm
again
saying.
admitting to being a barracks bunny.
So you're away. She thinks she's at away camp. Like she thinks she's at summer camp.
Yep.
She's like, I'm here to have as much unconventional and promiscuous sex as possible, and then to go home, and then to claim I'm a hero. And how dare you tell me that there's a blip in between there where I have to, pick and choose. Either I'm, one or the other. And it's just interesting that she says, maybe a couple seconds back, she's slapping her hands together and throwing them up and down like this. And I love it when someone gestures as they talk. Everyone loves a good gesture. Everyone loves a great gesture. But when she's doing it this way out of like exasperation and desperation, it makes me think that she doesn't even believe her own point, that she's trying to sell it almost to herself in her TikTok.
Yeah, no, I think you're
she's
right.
Gonna what she's doing. Well, you're right though. She's on vacation. Like, let's just be honest about what this is. You can tell by the barracks that she's in that she's probably in some place like the UAE, one of the richest countries in the world, on some construction project, because she's definitely not in a war zone in something like that. And she's a medic, so she's looking at gout and foot sores while for a few hours a day, and then whoring around all night.
No, PJ,
one of the richest
she's a
countries
medic,
in the Middle East.
so she knows how this works. She knows that she can't get access to birth control.
Yeah, so she can come home and be a hero. I don't know. No respect.
Here we go.
You're more likely to
she is in a war zone, but there's no Ben Stiller.
No Ben Stiller. None.
You would know it's a war zone if Ben Stiller was there. Yeah,
and Zelensky was there. It was definitely a war zone.
In pregnancies, women in the military are more likely to experience sexual assault. Where I'm at right now, you can't even get an ultrasound without traveling off base. You can't. It happened. It happened, ladies and gentlemen. And I signed that contract, so I will serve my country. But you bet your ass you're going to hear my voice, because I will not stop, I will not rest, and I will not be silent, because this is not an attack on reproductive rights. It is an attack on women in this country.
Yeah,
this is another reason why women shouldn't be in the military, by the way. The fact that she thinks that a military base needs an ultrasound machine.
Well, and even if it doesn't have one or should have one, let's talk about the sexism from her, where she just said she won't be silent, she won't stop nagging, she won't stop bitching about the vacuum, because what she said, I mean, she said because she's a woman. That sounded insane to me.
Yeah. So she's going to go to her commanding officer and say, "Listen here, buddy."
She's like, you're gonna hear my voice, because this is an all women's issue. It's like, did you just say that if it's a women's issue, you're going to become a nag?
I don't know. People don't want to hear this. I know a lot of people on the right don't like hearing this either. But like, there's so many reasons, and this is just another one why women really actually shouldn't be in the military. First of all, as a man, I don't think that sending our women over to fight wars for us is chivalrous at all. I think it's cowardly that we do this at all. And then second of all, like, just having been in, you've seen the shift over the last decade or so, where we used to spend time doing land navigation and firing weapons and practicing tactics. Instead, it's all classes where they go, hey, if you have drunken sex with a woman and she didn't like it the next day, you will get court-martialed for a rape. And you have that class about once a week, and it's like 5 hours long, and that is like 90% of your time in the military anymore. It's gotten so insane. And then when they add the transgender stuff, and they're like, oh, hey, you know how like when you go out in the field, because I was in infantry, when you go out in the field and you're literally sleeping in your own filth for like 3 weeks at a time in a hole that you dug yourself while it rains on you. Well, we also have to have, special considerations for these people who are literally using a medical device to keep their gash between their legs open. And this is a conversation we actually had in the military about like showers and hygiene and all these things. Like, we're over there to fight wars. We literally turn people down for having flat feet from getting in the military. They will turn you down if you have migraines on a regular basis from serving. 1% of the country is even eligible, like physically, to be in the military, and yet we're going to continue to push all this stuff and change standards to accommodate people so they can go overseas and bitch and whine on TikTok.
What is the proportion of people?
Mad.
What's the proportion of people that are in the armed services who actually impale themselves with a dilator? Do we know?
I have no idea. When I was in, they were gonna let them in, and then they didn't, and now they are. So I have no. It's probably like
that's another thing
people,
that you read. If you ever wanted to see some HIV online, if you go to it's Volunteers for Ukraine, I think is the subreddit, where there's like any what is it, post-op care tips. I'm bringing my dilator to Kiev when I go, and it's like, oh my God, there's trans military members who are, I think, PTSD. They come home after, serving in the Middle East, and then they decide to transition. They go back to Kiev. It's insanity.
Yeah. So shifting gears a little bit here, there's a huge story that happened on yesterday. Can't believe it feels like a week ago already. But Elon Musk backs out, sends a letter to Twitter terminating the $44 billion buyout bid. And Twitter is suing to enforce the deal. So Honestly, who saw this coming? Did you see this coming, Tom or PJ?
I thought that.
Go ahead.
I thought that he would have an issue buying it for that offer. So, and I might have even said, I'm sure I said it somewhere. He makes the offer, I think, to incite all of this. What's happening? The initially defensive position that Twitter took, and then kind of the false openness that they tried to, feign this 5% spam and buy it for this high premium. And I think all he was intending to ever do was expose them. And I said this in April, that with his offer, you're going to see all the forensic data and accounting come out for these accounts. And as someone who is a little bit aware of the ad revenue that Twitter has to generate, the spend that these companies put, I mean, the things like Brawny, the quicker picker upper, Bounty, the wipes that you'll see in competition with each other as you scroll through Twitter and these promoted ads, promoted tweets, they all spend a ton of money. Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, they all spend tons of money on Twitter to promote their tweets, and they spend based on the monetizable daily active users, that number that we all kind of seem to see go back and forth in the news. If it's 5% spam, if it's 20% spam, 50% spam, you can realize as well as anybody that creates a huge shift in terms of what you're actually getting when you spend $1 million a year advertising your Kleenex or your other Lysol products to all these moms who scroll after 10 o'clock in their coffee. So when they're spending a bunch of intelligent money on ads, and then now they're going to find out that the SEC has been covering for Twitter, lying about the number of fake people, it's going to be an unholy economic war, with all these companies seeing Twitter as the bag man and the SEC having kind of been the one facilitating all the lying and fraud.
Yeah. I think, didn't the number today in that article say it was 5% Twitter bots is what they the conclusion they're coming to, or is that just an estimate? Twitter
had claimed it was only ever 5%. And when Twitter fills out their filings with the SEC asks, because it's like, hey, the SEC could investigate Twitter for fraud at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so they swear to the SEC, oh no, we're well above board for fraud. We only ever have at most 5% spam or fake accounts. If that itself isn't true and Twitter said so knowingly, that's a misfiling with the SEC. That's defrauding the government, not to mention all of the new civil cases that would come up with every single business that's ever paid Twitter to advertise. If you have ever bought a promoted tweet on Twitter and said, I want to get 500 impressions on this tweet, and I'm just throwing out a number, and you pay $1 for it, maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's 1,000 impressions or 50,000 impressions. You're actually maybe getting half of that or 2/3 of it, and the others are fake. You would want a refund. And so Twitter is going to have to refund how much of its revenue over the past decade?
Yeah, because here's their claim right here. Twitter representation represents that fewer than 5% of its MDAU are false or spam accounts. Which,
that's what they're claiming.
Well, that's what they're claiming. But
I read this letter, and his attorneys said they have not given him the actual information. They've given him information that he said is basically concocted to show only that 5%. Like they gave him a snapshot that's an artificial rendering of that 5%.
Yeah. I mean, I think Elon's got a case there. You're right. Like this could snowball into a whole lot of people suing each other, because Twitter says they're going to sue Elon to make him keep the deal. Elon's going to countersue.
But that opens them up to discovery with a lawsuit pending.
Right. So watch this. Watch Elon return to the trough with Twitter, having seen their shares plummet. Right, their stock price is going to drop. Mm-hmm. You're going to see all these people threaten the site itself, saying, "Well, if this doesn't get solved, I don't know how it's going to be viable." You're going to have the story and the narrative change to whether or not Twitter is viable will depend on whether or not Elon ends up holding the keys to it. And if he does, it's going to be for a significantly lower price than $44 billion. And it will come with undoing algorithms and bringing people back on and lifting spam and removing bots. And I think when all of that happens, if it happens, then Twitter is a saved space. And if it doesn't happen, then I think Elon takes his money to the next game in town.
And also Twitter will end up losing $1 billion.
No, Elon.
I mean, they're going to lose.
Yeah, that's right. Elon.
Well, no, he doesn't. He doesn't lose $1 billion if they broke their terms. See, part of their merger agreement is that it was like, section 1.03 says we have not ever told a lie in the first quarter of 2022 to the SEC. And then it's, 1.13, so he's got these outlined, points where they can prove theoretically, because that's what the letter says from the attorneys, they have proof that Twitter did give misrepresentative statements to the SEC, that they did so knowingly, and that because of that, Twitter violated it, not Elon. Now, Elon's not walking away from the deal like the headlines want you to hear.
Right.
It's Elon now seeing that the deal has been broken by Twitter, and so he's now off the hook. He does not have to do anything, but he could come back and rebroach the conversation and say, hey, how about 20 billion?
Yeah.
Elon would be a chump to take the
$1 billion
deal without trying to negotiate a lower price at this point.
$1 billion a hit on Twitter is a massive hit on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, imagine it's like a mail order bride, and she shows up, but it's like a lady boy, and you're like, well, do I still keep it? No, it's like, no, that's a guy. That's a man, baby. Like, so you're not going to keep. Elon just made an offer for a really great company, he thought. Turns out it's, if anything, a DARPA owned, intelligence and narrative operation. And now he goes, oh, well, now I've exposed that. We'll see how the advertisers appreciate that now being common knowledge. And he can walk away and give his money to Rumble and to Truth Social.
That would be a great alternative. I've had my reservations about Elon though. Like, as far as one of my biggest problems in this is, like, I've wanted him to go through this deal or to buy it or whatever, because I want to see it become a free speech platform, hopefully, But I feel like there's this overcorrection, or not over enthusiasm, that comes from people as soon as someone agrees with them. So we saw this with Tulsi Gabbard. We even saw this with Jon Stewart. And even Jon Stewart, now you see him coming out about all this Roe v. Wade stuff. But as soon as he said something about COVID, people on the right wanted to accept him. People on the right literally invited Tulsi Gabbard to CPAC.
Yep.
And, it's like, I want to see this fight, but I'm like, my biggest concern in this whole thing has just been like this Elon for president type stuff that you see coming from people on the right, But as far as the thing goes, like, people are going to start suing Twitter if they don't. There's companies that are stockholders that are going to start suing Twitter as well if this thing falls through, because of the way that they handled this. So I think
Vijaya
it's going to snowball
is in
into
the
a lot
hot
of
seat so bad right now. You would not want to be her. You would not want to be Jack Dorsey. You would not want to be any of these people who had liability while these things were happening. And some of these people, swore testimony before Congress that these things weren't happening, that algorithms weren't being manipulated, that ads weren't being sold, misrepresentatively, if that's a word. They've sworn up and down things that are clearly now going to be misproven or disproven or outright. I mean, it's going to be, what did Trump say about January 6th? It's going to get wild. It's going to get wild over at Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. And it'll be interesting to see how this moves forward. But, well, Truth Social, they just had their records subpoenaed by the Southern District of New York as they continued their witch hunt over there. Are
you guys on Truth Social, by the way?
I am. Yeah.
What do you guys think of it?
I think it runs really cleanly now. I'd like to see more people on it. The only thing that I don't like for it is just that, like, I guess it's still really small in terms of the grand scheme. So, like, our bubbles exist on it, but there isn't more to grab from to bring in and continue to grow it.
Personally, I've been hesitant to be on something like Truth Social. I really liked what was that other one?
Parler.
Parler. I really liked Parler for a while there, but then obviously that was shut down by a conglomeration of Google and Apple and
what's the other one?
Amazon.
The other one they always Getter.
I've never
just
been on
really
Getter.
quickly while we're talking about Parler. Did you guys watch the 2000 Mules documentary?
Absolutely, yeah.
No.
So when they're talking about how the FBI was likely watching certain people with certain phones before the January 6th day because they already knew how to find them and where to go get them,
right?
That they were probably tracking them beforehand. That made me think, oh, shoot, I just lost my train of thought.
That they might have been on Parler? Is that where you're going with this?
Oh, there it is. Yeah, you know how Parler folded? Thank you. Good Lord, you just saved that. Parler folded so quickly that it was like on January 6th, they were like, pants down, hands up. Hey, FBI, what do you want to know? I'll give you all the data from every user, everyone who's ever been verified, everyone who's ever paid money. Because at a certain point, you could like buy the Parler badge, or you could have a regular Parler verification with your ID. So they had people taking photos of their ID and saying, I've been banned on Twitter. I'm going to the January 6th. And they're posting it on Parler. and the FBI is just sitting back going, okay, collect. And it
Right.
wouldn't surprise me to hear that Parler was maybe kind of a honeypot operation to begin with.
It wouldn't surprise me either, because there was a lot of controversy around the people that owned Parler after that. I don't remember all of it right now because it's kind of so many things going on. But yeah, no, like my point I was going to make earlier though is like I am my thing with Truth Social, and you kind of nailed it a little bit there, was like the reason I like Twitter isn't just because I can't say what I want to say. I got suspended there this week. You can run the things that show how blocked you are from getting a reach out there and stuff like that. But it's the idea that you can actually see what the other side is saying and refute it and have, you know what I mean? Like, so like, I've never really been the kind of person that just wants to be in an echo chamber. Like, as much as I never am going to agree with their ideas, I want to be able to refute them face to face. And I'm worried about stuff that's just like you get on a platform and it's like I don't know if it just be the fun would be gone for me, but
yeah, and Twitter's full of bait. Like, it's a great hunting ground for that
Yes,
kind of
that's
stuff.
exactly
So if you're looking for silly lefties making bad points and stupid arguments on bad headlines, that's the place to find it. It's not on Gab, because people on Gab are either sending Facebook memes or intelligent
it's the same red meat over and over again. Yeah,
right, or it's the same thing, and so yeah, I mean.
Yeah,
that's why
you could post on Truth Social like the Second Amendment is a fundamental constitutional right, and people like it, and it's like cool, but like, what did you do? It's like we're all just kind of circle jerking each other at that point, is how it feels like to me.
Yeah.
Are you on Truth Social?
I'm not. That's why I was curious what you guys thought of it. I might get on. I don't know. I don't see the left leaving their echo chamber. Like, that's why, like, for me, I would rather infiltrate their stuff, even though it's a challenge, than retreat and just kind of be like, yeah, we're all cool with each other. You know what I mean?
My argument for this would be create an account on all of them, including Truth Social, because that boosts the number there too. I saw something funny the other day. Governor Gavin Newsom in California on Truth Social, actively posting on Truth Social, because he knows there are people in California and he wants to, get that reach. So the left is not above going to these, tertiary and secondary platforms. If they know that there's people there, we shouldn't be above it either. Not that you are saying that, but
no, I wasn't saying that. I was just worried about Truth Social for other reasons as well. Whereas, like I said, I liked Parler at first. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think you're right. You have to be everywhere. Like, to be a conservative on the internet now, you have to be everywhere. You have to be on Rumble. You have to have backups. You have to have Odysee. You have to have all that stuff, because eventually, you have to try to build an audience that will follow you places. It's the only way to do things.
Speaking of Parler and honey traps and stuff like this, did you guys see this posted by the FBI recently? It's over here on their Twitter account.
Are you talking about their child tracking app?
Yeah. This thing right here.
I talked about this the other night. Yeah.
This is from the official FBI account over on Twitter. It says the FBI Child ID app, the first mobile application created by the Bureau, provides a convenient place to electronically store photos and other vital information about your child, so that it is literally right at the hand if you need it. Learn more at this website.
It's funny that DARPA doesn't have to create Life Force or whatever the fake Facebook thing was before they called it Facebook. In order to just like literally put their name on stuff now, like, hey, by the way, why don't you upload pictures of your kid with your home address and all the information of like when your kid goes to school and when they're by themselves and all that stuff to this, FBI tracking app, because we've never covered for things like, I don't know, the CIA sex trafficking ring in the 1980s called the Finders. And, we were definitely never involved in, protecting Hillary Clinton or Jeffrey Epstein or things like that. So there's no danger here of giving the FBI a bunch of information, like pictures of your kids that you would have on your phone to give to authorities anyway.
Yeah. Let's give them a whole database of kids that they can groom to become lone wolf shooters, right?
Right.
Or just make it even more simple than that. You ask every paranoid parent who thinks that their kid might get kidnapped, or parents who know that their kid's kind of up to no good and running around town, and you put all the information in the law enforcement's hands right there. They say they're not keeping it unless you want to send it to them. Like, that's the funniest thing about this, other than it being the FBI's first ever app. Because if you ask me, and this is what I said in my video I made on this, if you asked me, the FBI is going to release their first ever app, what's it going to be on? I would think it would be on reporting your neighbor for domestic terrorism or domestic something. If you think that your neighbor is up to no good with that red, white, and blue paint in the garage, painting a sign, God forbid, then maybe you should report them to the FBI. I thought that would be it. And instead it's the FBI asking a mother, do you leave your kid home way too often unattended? Do you let your kid wander the mall at the age of 9 unaccompanied? Then put their face in this app so that we know how to find them. And we can show up and say, hey, your mom sent me this photo of you. It's your Uncle Jesse. Remember me? You got to come with me. There's been an emergency. And then all of a sudden your kid is missing and they can check them off the list.
That's actually a salient point that I didn't even think of, though, is like the people who are going to use this app are the type of moms who are not paying any attention to their kids in the first place. Because like if you actually care about your kids and you know where they're at, you don't need an FBI tracking app, right? It's, I've got to be at work for 9 hours a day and my kid's at school for 4, because they're preschool or whatever. So I've got to make sure that somebody is, knows that.
This thing got ratioed,
creepy.
by the way, on the website.
I'm sure it did. Yeah. Nothing creepy there. No one could ever see anything weird coming from.
Could you find my son, Ray?
That's awesome.
The FBI's done nothing but show us how trustworthy they are in the last decade,
Wait, scroll up a second. Frank, you missed there from Christina. She says there's a lot wrong with this, most of which people have already pointed out. But my question is, why does the FBI use iOS from 10 years ago? And if you look at the image, it's absolutely like just the worst.
Oh my
iPhone
God. Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Oh, goodness. Wow. Yeah, no, there's.
Well, have you ever been on a government computer? It's pretty bad. That's my point.
I'm sure I'm in a government computer.
Well, I'm sure we all are, but if you've ever used one, it's like, really? Like, military intelligence is an oxymoron when you use a military computer. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, here we go. Just uploaded pictures from Hunter's laptop to the FBI's new app.
Can we talk about this story with Hunter and Jill Biden, by the way?
It's the photo of Hunter and it's the photo of Hunter and Natalie, and it's the photo of Joe and all the kids, but you just crop those guys out. So it's just the children from those pictures uploaded to the FBI.
Looks like your children are lost. You might want to round them up.
Good
the
Lord.
Patriot front there. Yeah, the app didn't work.
Oh, gosh.
That's awesome.
Oh, this thing's a meme gold mine in here.
Yeah.
State of the line, news media. Subject was known to the FBI.
Well, that's the thing. The FBI, every time there's a mass shooter, right? They've known about this guy for months. They've had multiple calls. Remember Parkland? It was like, yeah, we went to his house 50 times. And he did post on the internet that he was going to shoot up Parkland School, like a month before he did it. And we did know about that. The FBI had all of this. And it still happens. And you're like, so in best case scenario, if you don't think the FBI is into the child trafficking thing, first of all, you're wrong. But second of all, like if you don't think that, then your best conclusion of the FBI is that they're ineffective.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, are you saying they asked Nicholas Cruz if he was up to no good and he just said no? And they were like, okay, fine.
Cool. Yeah, they want to push red flag laws.
He
but they don't
said
want
no.
He said he's perfectly okay. Did you say you had a story about Hunter Biden?
Yeah, well, you just brought up Hunter Biden, and I want to know if you guys. Let me see if I got it here somewhere. Yeah, from Breitbart. So let me pull this on screen for you guys.
Is this him in the float tank?
About which one?
He was in a detox float tank, smoking crack and drinking a White Claw.
That one is good, but no, I wanted to bring up this story. Hunter Biden in a text message said that Jill Biden is a selfish, silly, entitled.
You know what? There.
C word. See you next Tuesday. I just thought this was hilarious because I was like, is this the first time I've ever agreed with Hunter Biden on anything? And he basically goes on to make fun of the fact that she calls herself a doctor and how she couldn't. Let me see.
No,
the drunkest. This is a quote from Hunter. The drunkest I've ever been is still smarter than you could ever have comprehended a shit grant that ever his. I'm sorry, his texts are really bad because he's drunk. The drunkest I've ever been is still smarter than you could ever even comprehend, and you're a shit grammar teacher that wouldn't survive one class in an Ivy graduate program.
Well, Hunter is the smartest guy that Joe knows. So I mean.
Yeah, what does that mean? If Joe thinks Hunter's the smartest guy, and Hunter thinks that of Joe's wife, what's the transitive property tell you there?
The sad thing is, I actually believe Joe Biden when he says that Hunter's the smartest guy he knows. And that doesn't say anything about Hunter Biden. It says a lot about the people surrounding Joe Biden. I mean, you've heard Kamala Harris speak, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time she does a speech, it's like she
Or
never read
attempts-
a book and she has a 10 minutes to prep before she has to do an oral report on a book report.
Or I shouldn't say speak. I should say attempt to emulate human speech. It's pretty bad. What was the most recent one? She just said like the word amazing 1,000. Like she does the same thing over and over. She'll just like stick on one word and just say that word in every sentence. Even like it's like asking a leftist what a woman is. And they're just like, a woman is a woman is a woman. It's like the circular logic. She'll just be like, oh yeah, we believe in diversity because diversity is very diverse and it diversifies things for diversity. Like that's her.
Or like how Kamala, when asked about the shooting, she'll be like, we now have to take gun violence very seriously because we were forced to take it seriously because you guys have taken it seriously. And so now we're taking it seriously because this is serious. Seriously.
I think that's the one I was thinking of. But yeah, that's how she speaks. So when he says Hunter's the smartest guy, I'm like, he probably is right.
Now, I know it's a terrible thing to refer to Dr. Jill Biden as what her stepson just referred to her as. But it's still not the worst thing that a Biden has called her. Joe has referred to Jill not just as his sister, but he also mistakenly referred to her as, and it must have been something from the Senate. Maybe he was friends with Romney because he kept referring to her as his old mitt.
Old mitt? That's disgusting. Oh my gosh. Didn't he also call her Joe Biden's husband?
Yeah.
Or did he call himself Joe Biden's husband?
And I'm Jill Biden's husband.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was so bad.
So I'm worried over here, guys, over in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, me
of course,
too.
we know Dr. Oz won the primary in the Republican primary there for the Senate for Pennsylvania. And
this is a good thing. This is a good thing.
This is a good thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Why do you think so? I'm curious.
Let me voice my concern first.
Okay.
Yeah. Lay into it, Frank.
Yeah, for sure. Dr. Oz has like disappeared off of the stage in Pennsylvania. I don't know why he's disappeared, and not only that, but he's also been doing a lot of his promotional stuff from his home in New Jersey, which I don't think resonates a lot with Pennsylvanians. I'm not from Pennsylvania. I can't speak for Pennsylvanians, but that's how I would feel if I had a senator running for the Senate in Florida and they were filming in Georgia because they lived in Georgia.
Were they filming with the backdrop of the black backdrop between Stacey Abrams' teeth?
No,
They're filming in Georgia.
but
got him.
I don't know. I just think he's I don't know. What? Okay, reassure me then, and tell me why I shouldn't be worried.
Oh, well, I mean, you can absolutely be worried, but I think it's a good thing that we have Dr. Oz in that position. And I say that because when you look at the people who he was running against, and you can look at the numbers, the numbers you can say do lie or don't lie because you can either trust the polls or not. But when you look at the actual people polled and the people who represent themselves when they vote, whether it's a Twitter poll or Facebook or what have you, the numbers of people that will come out for Dr. Oz are much higher than for Kathy or for anyone else.
Right.
And so when you look at the local race, where it's everyone who's paying attention to that race was a Republican, and they're looking at Oz or the other guy that somehow was maybe in a neck and neck race, even though no one knew who he was. I think that was kind of the fraud candidate, or Kathy Barnett. And in short, I think it's this: when you look across the state in November, when it's no longer Republican versus Republican versus Republican, and you're trying to find which one's the MAGA candidate, which one's the America First candidate. Now it will be the Republican versus the Democrat. The only one who's going to win that race in Pennsylvania is Oz. Anyone else won't draw the number to overcome the steal. In Pennsylvania, they're going to have a historical fraud, election fraud network set up, just like Joe Biden says they will. And in Pennsylvania, especially, the only way to overcome those numbers of fraud is to drive out every single middle class, every single person. And I think Trump was wise to pick the guy who has the name recognition. He's on TV. Dr. Oz can be another celebrity that people can say, oh, I know him. I recognize that name. I'll vote for him. And you're going to get a lot of people who are the low information voters who don't even know, who go in and go, Dr. Oz, I'll vote for him.
I guess the question then becomes, do you think a Democrat is more harmful than a rhino? I would probably agree with you that it's better to have someone like him, but It is the question, like, because there are, I think, people like Dan Crenshaw that come in and people think that they're this wonderful conservative person, then they're out there in backroom dealing for red flag laws, So it worries me specifically because I remember being, growing up in a conservative family young and being raised by people who thought Bush was conservative, thought Bush was a wonderful president, So you get stuff like...
My wife still thinks so.
Yeah, but you get stuff like, what am I trying to think of? That big program, the spying program he put through. The Patriot Act. You get stuff like the Patriot Act because people are so divided. People are so divided that when a Republican pushes something, the low information voter is going to go, well, I know that I believe that I don't want this crazy gender ideology pro-abortion bullshit. So the guy on my side, he must be putting forward good policy. And then you get stuff like the Patriot Act. Like, that's my concern. When it comes to Senate, I think it's a better argument that you want a rhino in there than a Democrat, because they kind of have to, on some issues, vote party line, or you're more likely to. But yeah.
Well, let me ask this. Do you guys trust Ted Cruz?
Not particularly. More than some people, but not particularly.
Well,
no.
Well, so here, you trust his son. He's also a rhino. He's also a never Trumper until he had to click his heels and get in line. So I would rather have Dr. Oz, where you can rely on him more than you can't, or at least that when you won't be able to. If he's going to fold, let him fold. But let that person who wins the election be a Republican, because, like I said, that's a 6-year term.
Yeah,
that means that in future elections, that's a Republican seat being held, and you're getting people to return to the poll to elect another Republican. That does affect polling in the future. It does affect 2024. So when that other seat then pops in Pennsylvania, it's an interesting thing to see.
So you're thinking
it also affects the Senate majority leader. So, like, in that, I would definitely agree with you.
So it doesn't matter if homie gets in and says immediately first day, I'm Rhino, I snuck in, doesn't matter. Because like you said, we have the majority with the party. And so you can lose one seat, but win however many down ballot elections. And again, if Oz drives out the numbers, then every single person who goes to vote for Oz is maybe more likely to vote for all the other Republican candidates that they didn't know about. And we know that that's statistically true. The down ballot votes are affected by high profile names atop.
Well, also, like, if you're going to get a Democrat vote on a bill, right? At least if you have someone like Dr. Oz in there and you have enough, like, if you have enough Republicans that get in there, you get the Senate majority, right? At least you have that. Like, if either way, he's going to be a Democrat. He's going to vote Democrat. If Dr. Oz is going to vote Democrat, because I think he is one, at least it's helping. Like, your alternative is having an actual Democrat and then having a Democrat Senate majority or Senate majority leader. So I get your argument from that way.
We haven't seen Dr. Oz be a politician, just like we hadn't seen Donald Trump be a politician.
True.
And there were a lot of people who said there's no way he's ever going to do any of the things that he's promising if he's ever elected, and then he did. So I'm not going to compare the two or say that you should expect the same from Oz. I'm simply saying you don't know. I don't know. But it would be better, I'm sure, to have the guy running as a Republican win than the person running as a Democrat. It's better to even, I'd say the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. And Oz is a known devil to Trump. Trump picked him, and so we ought to trust that first and foremost. And if you can't trust that, then, I don't know. It's like you're flying blind entirely, because anything Trump says, you would say, well, I don't know if I can trust it. That's a dangerous world to live in.
I think you make a good point, because I wouldn't have seen it quite that way before. Like, I still, you're right about Trump. Like, I think with Trump, the difference was that I think you could see, at least publicly, some of his leanings going more Republican. Like, specifically, I'm talking about like gun rights and stuff like that. Like, his sons woke him up to that type of stuff, and he was a little bit more that way. But yeah, like, my problem with Dr. Oz just wasn't that long ago that he was pushing the transgender stuff.
Well, and frankly, look, Dr. Oz had a TV show on a major network.
Sure.
Donald Trump was running a major TV show on a major network with The Apprentice. There are a lot of comparisons that you can draw to them. And I can look at some Apprentice episodes and say, what in the world? This isn't anything conservative. This isn't anything good. There were some things that they featured on that show that I thought were, at best, questionable for primetime TV. Sure. And Donald Trump has said and done some things that are questionable for, we don't have to go over the fact that they argued over and over that he was not presidential. And so Dr. Oz having a TV show where, as a doctor, he has to talk about transgender kids. Yes, he probably should have come out more against it as a medical doctor. But shoot, I mean, I think even having it on the TV probably got a lot of parents who've never heard of it to see it and go, what the fuck?
Right.
To some extent, that is helpful. Like Tim Pool doesn't have to take the same side as I do on every issue, but if he's making people talk about it, that's a help.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't agree with Tim Pool's takes on a lot of stuff, but I think that he does a good job as far as like I actually appreciate his commentary because of the stuff that he puts out there and the guests that he has on and stuff like that. That's why I'm not as hardline as some people. It's like if I don't entirely agree with this person, I'm totally against them. Like I actually think Tim Pool does add something to it, whether I agree with him or not. So
yeah, I like what he's doing. I think if you want to see yourself as a good conservative, you have to believe in the ability for there to exist a good liberal. Like there has to be the opposite, feng to your shui or yin to your yang, if you want to get Eastern with it. But if you're a good conservative, you're like, I'm a little bit further to the right than the middle here, and I can justify this here, then I should be able to, in theory, seeing outside myself, justify someone existing on the opposite end, but to the same kind of moderate level. And if that's Tim, then great. So long as we can coexist, fine. The problem is the further you go along that leftist spectrum, the further you get away from allowing for there to be a coexistence or a tolerance of another.
Well, I think conservatives and liberals can coexist in a country. We can't coexist with communists. So like, that's where I come down on this is like, yes, I would actually like to in some way have people like Tim Pool, who I'm not going to agree with on most things, vote the way that I want to, move the country further to the right. And then we can bicker amongst ourselves once we've kicked these Marxist, insane communists out of the country. Like, that's where I come down is like, in some point, I would actually like to be the entire opposite of Tim Pool. Not because that is the furthest left the spectrum goes. Like that would be an ideal world for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, real quick, as we're wrapping up our last segment here, before we go off the air at 9, a lot have been made out, Trump versus DeSantis in a primary, and others have suggested DeSantis be Trump's running mate. I suggest that DeSantis not be a running mate. I suggest that DeSantis continues to stay here in Florida. However, there's a lot of people out there on the DeSantis train right now. What do you guys think about that?
You take this first, Tom. I'll let you go.
My initial thought is that DeSantis is young, and nothing that I'll say is going to be new that anyone's listening to. DeSantis is young. He's in his 40s. He's got a lot of time left in his political clock. And I know some people have said, well, his pressure is now, his iron is hottest now. He should strike now. I think so long as Trump is still around and ready to run, and it seems as though he is, he's got a plan, he's campaigning, he's rallying, he's done all but announce the run for 2024. I think DeSantis would be wise and the country would be better served for Ron to wait till 2028 to have Donald Trump run again in 2024 and pick someone who's a lesser person, maybe of an older age, someone who's not considered a threat to Trump, but is considered MAGA. And I would pick, if it were me, Rand Paul. So I would say Donald Trump should run and try to court Rand Paul early so that he doesn't announce a run. Tell Ron DeSantis your plan so no one else gets any kind of feathers, ruffled or confused. And then it'll be a clean sweep 2024, 2028, a re-election bid for Ron in 2028. I know people want to have like a third Trump run again and again and again. It was a fun meme. We'll see if it ever becomes more than a dream.
PJ?
Yeah, I think it's hard for Ron DeSantis because he has to strike when the iron is hot, and that's the issue right here. It's like right now, Ron DeSantis is the guy, right? So like we don't know if, and he doesn't know, and that's the thing that he's gonna have to decide is like he doesn't know if he can wait till 2028 and still be the guy, the guy that everybody's talking about, the guy that could easily win a presidential election. So it's difficult because like I've heard the arguments that he's got a lot less baggage. Personally, my opinion on Ron DeSantis is that I think he's Trumpian in the best ways without some of the character flaws that Trump has. And I don't agree entirely with people that say, well, he wouldn't do the things that Trump did as far as draining the swamp and things like that. I mean, who else literally goes against Disney in Florida? True. You know what I mean? Like so I know that people want to turn that's actually my big worry is that people are trying to pick between Trump and DeSantis, which eventually we're going to have to, and thinking that means we're picking, you have to hate one or the other. I guess it's like, in all honesty, we're picking between two great choices here. And so like part of me does want to see DeSantis be his running mate because keeping that momentum going. You know what I mean? Like taking that to the next level, because you can't expect him to know or to have the faith or anybody to know that he's going to be the guy in 2028. He's not going to have like some huge competition, you know?
So if DeSantis is the governor for the first term right now in Florida, he still has another term that he can, and he promised to serve the people of Florida.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if he would come off of that, especially when Trump still has eligibility. Like, I understand what you're saying, but and I see the comment of saying, well, maybe DeSantis should be the running mate and get experience. I think if you ask people who know, the least effectual person in politics now more than ever is the VP.
You're right.
So
you're right.
Taking Ron away from Florida and making him a VP is like taking your hot iron and shelving it. You should keep it in the fire, let it get even hotter. Let Florida become even cooler. Let him kick Disney right the hell out. Let him go after the airlines next. Let him, start doing some real crazy stuff in Florida. And then they'll see it as like, oh, DeSantis is a no-brainer for 2028 instead of it being a contender.
Right.
Yeah, you're making a good point for sure.
I agree. I wouldn't want DeSantis.
Well, they're not paying me, but they should be.
Yeah. I've said this before on numerous different occasions. I wouldn't want to see DeSantis as a running mate to Trump, only for the fact that you're pulling him out of Florida, and me being a Florida resident, knowing that there is nobody that could live up to the mantle of a Ron DeSantis right now. So we need somebody like Ron DeSantis at the helm of Florida, at least through the next term, because he was one of the individuals here in the state of Florida to help curve or help fix some of the voting issues that were taking place in the state back in 2018, where he barely won that election because they kept finding votes and votes and votes down in Broward County. And, as soon as he became elected governor, guess what? That supervisor election was fired because of her incompetence or her treachery, if you will, down in there, along with other people that need to go. And the whole voting system here in the state of Florida has been revitalized. As you saw, Trump had won with an even bigger margin in 2020 here in Florida than he did against Hillary back in 2016.
I will say this. The thing about Ron DeSantis staying in Florida is I think that Florida finally has a chance to not be a swing state anymore.
Yes.
So like that's the reason I would like to see him stay till 2028, because, and I think Michigan's going to be facing this in the fall. I don't know. You might agree or disagree with me, Tom, on this, but like with the way that Whitmer's handled things and the thing about Roe v. Wade, how there's a lot of states that had trigger laws. Michigan was not a trigger law, but we had a law on the books that said, hey, in 1938, that was like, if Roe v. Wade before Roe v. Wade, obviously, but like abortion was illegal here. So when Roe v. Wade was overturned, abortion should have been de facto illegal here again. But she put a kibosh to that and basically made this election about abortion. And I think Michigan's in a very similar place to Florida in that way, where if, depending on who gets elected this fall, we might see the state become further blue or have a chance to, I would like to, hope that we could have a chance to get someone in like Ron DeSantis. We've had terrible Republican governors in the state too, I would say. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but like that's the one reason I'd like to see Ron DeSantis stay, because Florida is fastly becoming not a swing state anymore. It's becoming more red. You see people moving there all the time, and it's I think it's different than Texas, where you see places like people like Elon Musk bringing companies there that are going to move in a lot of these big tech guys who are going to be more blue. I think Florida is actually becoming more red because of Ron DeSantis. So
I would agree.
It'd be nice to have Florida not be the one that's the hanging Chad state every election, is my point.
We had a clean election last in 2020, though.
Sure, yeah, but I'm saying is like even then people were like, we don't know which way Florida's going to go.
Frank, would you say that Florida's election was the cleanest and most most secure
in Florida? Yeah, this last election it was. I actually know one of the supervisor of elections here in the county that I live in, and some of the information he talked to me about and stuff like that. He said a lot of stuff got cleaned up after DeSantis, took the helm here in the state and made it a lot easier to actually remove people from the voter rolls that have not been in the state or had passed away and stuff like that. So there was a lot of fixing that was done in our election system here in the state of Florida over the course of the last couple of years.
Here in the state of Michigan, I know we have Matt DePerno on the ballot for AG, and I've met Matt. And he has been incredibly outspoken at the Capitol and at various rallies and protests in Michigan about this. Again, just cleaning up the voter rolls, cleaning up the registrations. There are 40,000 something voters just in Wayne County who should not be in the rolls. And we knew so going into 2020, and they were all counted. And that was just like a speck on the tip of the iceberg of problems that were in Michigan. So if we can get the correct people elected this year, then we have standing for future elections. But I think it's kind of a tipping point in Michigan. And I'm afraid that this is going to be the case in other states where if you were one of those 5, if you want to call it those 5 swing states that did not go with every other metric that you would have thought would have gone, that all overnight had these crazy, phenomenal successes for Joe Biden, that by COVID vaccination rates did not match as they did every other state. 45 states, the COVID rates matched with the elections, except for these 5. If you're one of those 5, I have a feeling that your elections this year and in 2024 will look even more skewed, and that will be the catalyst for a hot civil war.
Yeah. So as we wrap up for this evening's first show of the Last American Pubcast, which will air every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we will be looking to add guests to our podcast here to come on and talk about, their platforms or what they do in industry, and have them talk about some of the things that are happening around the country, cultural wise or even political wise, and have them weigh in on it. So I'm very excited to have the following week and the following week. So make sure you check us out over on our official Twitter account. I'll put it back in the chat there again for everybody. And if you will be communicating through that Twitter account to share with you guys upcoming guests and exciting new things for the podcast. And we may be adding one extra chair to this wonderful lineup that we currently have. But if you're looking to check out the rest of our individuals that are here, we have, of course, myself, Let's Be Frank. You can find me on this channel, Let's Be Frank, for daily videos. I publish at 2 p.m., 5 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. daily, along with the American Pubcast, which is featured here on the channel on Saturday nights. But you can also visit the official The Last American Pubcast YouTube channel, which is currently streaming right now, where we will have the segments chopped up for later viewing. But you can also check out PJ Williams.
Yeah, so I saw a comment in the chat earlier when I introduced myself. I forgot to say what I do. So if you guys want to check me out on YouTube, you can look up Wartime Propaganda, which is my podcast I do every week. And I also do another one with a co-host called Broody and the Beast. So it's BREWTY, Broody. And that's got its own channel, but it's also on mine as well. And the best place to find me is Twitter and Instagram at PJ_Patriot. So yeah, thank you for having me on, Frank. This has been a great first podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you guys.
No, absolutely. And of course, we have one of our favorite residents here, our Odysee champion, Mr. Tom America Floats.
Yeah, it's Tom from America Floats. I appreciate Frank having me here, PJ getting to speak with you, and I'm sure this will evolve and become even more fun. So thank you to everyone who was watching and listening and who will watch and listen in the future. If you did want to check out anything that I do, I post virtually every day. It's the channel America Floats on Odysee, Gab, BitChute, Rumble, Minds, Getter, Truth Social. On Twitter, it's at Float Show. Everywhere else, at America Floats. Just a humble channel here in Michigan trying to keep your head above the sea of junk headlines and keep America afloat.
Yes, no, thank you for sure, Tom, and of course, PJ. I'm very excited, as I explained to the gentleman here way before we even got anything launched. This, the show, this is its own entity, The Last American Pubcast. It's not, Let's Be Frank, and it's not PJ Williams. It's not, Tom America Floats. It's its own entity. We just happen to be on the show, which is hosted here on this channel. But we are growing the other channel, so I look forward to you guys subbing to that other channel as we grow that entity, as we can continue to try to grow this show to become, larger, more impactful, and to be able to bring more guests on. And we'll actually start having our first guest next week. And I will tweet about that later on in the week to let you guys know who will be appearing. And we will continue to do our little tweaks on the show as we continue to move forward. But I appreciate all of you. Thank you, Rick, for the super sticker. We do appreciate it. Thank you to all the mods who were in the chat today already. So thank you guys for helping mod. And thank you so much for all of your guys' support. We appreciate it. And we hope to look forward to seeing you guys back here next Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Saturday. I was going to add a date to that, but I didn't know what the date was. So, oh well. But outside that, I hope you guys all have a great night, and we'll see you guys a little bit later. So I hope you all have a great evening.
Peace out, everyone.
Okay. And we're almost